You are not watching this video. Not really. What's actually happening is this. Light is bouncing off your screen, hitting the back of your eye, and your brain is taking that raw data and building a picture. A constructed picture. One it edits, fills in, and adjusts in real time, without asking your permission. Everything you see right now, the colors, the contrast, the depth, none of it exists the way you think it does. Your brain is not a camera. It's a storyteller. And like every storyteller, it takes liberties. The color you call yellow, it doesn't exist in the world. It exists in your head. And the proof of that should make you deeply uncomfortable about everything else you think you're seeing clearly. Before I continue, please hit that subscribe button, like, and share this video with your loved ones. Thank you. Now, let's dive in. What your eye actually does. Your eye does not see color. Let's get that straight first. Inside your eye, on a layer called the retina, you have photoreceptor cells. Two types, rods and cones. Rods handle low light. Cones handle color. You have about 6 million cones, and they come in 3 varieties, each sensitive to different wavelengths of light, roughly corresponding to red, green, and blue. That's it. 3 channels of raw information sent to your brain. Your brain takes those 3 signals and constructs every color you've ever seen in your entire life. The deep red of a sunset, the green of grass, the particular shade of yellow you'd call yellow without hesitation. None of those colors are being transmitted to you from the outside world. They are being manufactured inside your skull. This is not philosophy. This is basic visual neuroscience. The wavelength of light that triggers your yellow response is around 570 to 580 nanometers. But here's where it gets strange. Your eye doesn't even have a cone specifically for yellow. What your brain interprets as yellow is actually the combined response of your red-sensitive and green-sensitive cones firing together. Yellow is a negotiation, a construction, a conclusion your brain reaches, not a fact it receives. The dress. In February 2015, a photo of a dress broke the internet. Some people saw it as white and gold. Others saw it as blue and black. Same image, same screen, completely opposite perceptions. People argued with their partners, their co-workers, their friends. Relationships were briefly strained over a dress. The dress was blue and black. That was confirmed. But the people who saw white and gold weren't wrong in the way we usually mean wrong. Their brains were making a different and completely logical set of assumptions about the lighting in the photo. Here's what was happening. The photo was ambiguous. The lighting context was unclear. And so each brain had to make a decision. Is this dress in shadow or in bright light? If your brain decided the dress was in shadow, it compensated by brightening the colors, which produced white and gold. If your brain decided the dress was in bright light, it read the colors more directly, producing blue and black. Your brain made that decision for you, automatically, unconsciously, before you even had a chance to think about it. You didn't choose what you saw. Your brain chose, and then it handed you the result and let you believe it was reality. Color constancy, the trick your brain runs all day. The dress was a dramatic example of something your brain does constantly and quietly, every waking hour. It's called color constancy. Here's the problem your brain is solving. Light changes. The color of sunlight at noon is different from sunlight at 4 p.m. Indoor lighting is different from outdoor lighting. Fluorescent light is different from candle light. If your brain processes color the way a camera does, literally, mechanically, a white piece of paper would look bright white at noon, slightly blue in the shade, and distinctly orange under a warm lamp. But it doesn't. You know it's white. It looks white, even as the actual wavelengths hitting your eye shift dramatically throughout the day. Your brain is constantly recalibrating. It samples the overall light in a scene, makes assumptions about the light source, and then adjusts every color in your visual field accordingly, so that a banana looks yellow in sunlight, in shade, under fluorescent light, and under a warm bulb. This is an incredible feat of computation. Your brain is doing color correction in real time, automatically, without your input. But it means that what you see is never raw data. It is always a processed, adjusted, interpreted version of reality. Your brain is not showing you the world. It's showing you its best current theory about the world. The checker shadow illusion. In 1995, MIT vision scientist Edward Adelson created an image that still stops people cold when they see it. It's a checkerboard with a cylinder casting a shadow across it. There are two squares on the board, one labeled A, one labeled B square. A is in the light. Square B is in the shadow. They are exactly the same shade of gray. Not similar, identical. The same RGB value, pixel for pixel. But square A looks dark. Square B looks light. No matter how many times you're told they're the same, no matter how long you stare, your brain refuses to see them as equal. You can put a strip of paper connecting the two squares to block out the surrounding context, and they instantly look identical. Remove the paper, and your brain snaps back to seeing them as different. What Adelson's illusion reveals is that your brain doesn't process individual pixels. It processes context. It sees relationships, not absolutes. Square B looks lighter not because it is lighter, but because your brain knows it's in shadow and compensates, the same way it does with color constancy, but with brightness. Your brain is so committed to giving you a useful interpretation of the world that it will override raw sensory data to do it. It literally rewrites what you're seeing in order to give you what it thinks is the more accurate picture. Think about that. Your brain decides it knows better than your eyes. And most of the time, it's right. But sometimes, like right now, looking at that checkerboard, it is spectacularly, demonstrably wrong. This is bigger than color. Here's where this moves from interesting to important. The same neural machinery that constructs your experience of color constructs your experience of everything else. Your brain doesn't just build your visual world from incomplete information. It builds your entire reality that way. Psychologists call it predictive processing. The theory, developed and popularized by neuroscientist Carl Friston and others, proposes that your brain is not a passive receiver of information. It is an active prediction machine. At every moment, it is generating a model of what it expects to perceive and then checking incoming sensory data against that model. When the data matches the prediction, your brain barely updates. When the data doesn't match, your brain flags it as surprising and pays closer attention. This is efficient. It saves enormous amounts of cognitive energy, but it means that most of what you experience isn't perception. It's prediction. Your brain is constantly showing you what it expects to see, not what's actually there. This explains why you can read a sentence with jumbled letters and still understand it perfectly. Your brain predicted the words and filled in the gaps. It explains why you don't notice your own blind spot, the place in your visual field where the optic nerve connects, leaving a gap with no photoreceptors. Your brain fills it in seamlessly, using context to guess what should be there. It explains why, when you learn a new word, you suddenly start hearing it everywhere. The word was always there. Your brain just wasn't flagging it as relevant before. You are not experiencing the world. You are experiencing your brain's running simulation of the world, updated constantly but never perfectly. What this does to judgment. Here's where it gets psychologically uncomfortable. The same principle that makes you see yellow where there is only a combination of wavelengths, the same principle that made half the world see white and gold, operates in your social perception, your judgment of people, and your understanding of situations. Your brain doesn't evaluate people objectively any more than it evaluates colors objectively. It takes incomplete information, applies prior experience, makes assumptions about context, and delivers a verdict. Fast, automatically, before your conscious mind gets involved. This is the machinery behind confirmation bias. You don't see evidence and then form a conclusion. You form a conclusion based on a split-second prediction, and then your brain filters incoming evidence through that conclusion, accepting what confirms it and downgrading what contradicts it. It's the same mechanism. Context shapes perception. Prediction overrides raw data. The brain constructs a coherent story from incomplete information and presents it to you as objective reality. In color perception, this is mostly harmless. A banana looks yellow in candlelight. Fine. In social perception, in political judgment, in the way you read someone's tone in a text message, in the way you remember an argument, this machinery causes real damage. Because you don't experience yourself as someone who is predicting and constructing. You experience yourself as someone who is seeing things clearly. That's the lie. Not a malicious lie. A structural one. The brain cannot show you raw reality. It doesn't have access to raw reality. It only has access to sensory signals, and it does the best it can with them. The people who see color differently. There's another layer to this worth sitting with. Roughly 8% of men and 0.5% of women have some form of color vision deficiency, commonly called colorblindness. The most common type affects the ability to distinguish red from green. For most of their lives, many of these people don't know. The world they see looks normal to them because they have no reference point for anything different. Their brain builds a consistent, coherent world from the signals it has. It just happens to be a world that maps onto reality differently than the majority experience. Who is right? In one sense, the majority, because the consensus version of color aligns with how most human visual systems work. But in another sense, the question doesn't fully make sense, because color isn't a property of objects. It's a property of perception, and perception varies. There are also people with tetrachromacy, a rare condition where individuals have 4 types of cone cells instead of 3, giving them the potential to distinguish colors that are completely invisible to most people. To a tetrachromat, what looks like a single shade of beige to you might contain dozens of subtle variations they can distinguish clearly. This means the color you're so confident about, the one you'd bet your life is yellow, may be perceived in ways you literally cannot imagine by someone standing next to you. Your version of yellow is not the version. It is a version, specific to your biology, your lighting context, your visual history. So what do you do with this? A psychologist named Ellen Langer spent decades studying what she called mindlessness, the state of operating on autopilot, running on prior categories and assumptions without actually engaging with what's in front of you. Her conclusion was that most of human cognition runs in this mode most of the time. We categorize once, and then we stop looking. We decide what something is, or who someone is, and then we process future information through that decision rather than re-examining it. The antidote, Langer argued, is not trying harder to be objective. That's not possible. The antidote is noticing that you're always seeing from a particular angle, in particular light, with a particular set of prior experiences shaping what you're seeing. It's the habit of asking, what am I assuming about the context here? What would this look like if the light were different? That's not a small ask. It requires genuine intellectual humility, the kind that's hard to maintain when your brain is delivering its verdict with the full confidence of lived experience. But here's the thing. The checkerboard illusion doesn't go away when you know about it. You can understand exactly what Adelson's image is doing and still be unable to see squares A and B as the same shade. The illusion persists because it's not a mistake your conscious mind is making. It's built into the architecture. What changes is not the perception. What changes is what you do with it. Whether you say, this is what I see, therefore this is what is, or whether you say, this is what I see, and I know something about how unreliable that is. That gap between perception and certainty is where better thinking lives. Final thoughts. Your brain is not broken. It is doing exactly what it evolved to do. Taking incomplete, ambiguous, constantly changing information and building a stable, usable version of reality out of it. The fact that you can walk into a room at different times of day and recognize everything in it, regardless of how the light has shifted, is a miracle of neural engineering. But the cost of that stability is that you never have direct access to what's actually there. The color you call yellow is real, as an experience, as a fact about the external world. It's a construction, one your brain built, packaged, and delivered to you without a label saying this is not objective reality. Most things your brain delivers don't come with that label, which means the most psychologically honest thing you can do is learn to ask for it yourself.